Okay. So good morning, everybody. Here we are. We're going to try this out. I'm going to give you a little overview of the new certificate worksheet that the IT guy, Ian, and I have been working on diligently for the last several months. For anybody who doesn't know me, I'm Diane Riley. I do the executive assistant work here. I work with the IT guy, do most of the admin work, etc. I also have my right-hand girl, Sheena, which most of you probably know. But anyways, so I'm thinking that this is probably going to take maybe an hour at the most. And so we're just going to start going through it. I'm going to take you and do a screenshot so you can walk or you can see me walk through it. So here I go, sharing. I hope everybody can see that okay. Okay, so where you find this, first of all, you have to be logged in. I have a handicapper login there where it's for doing testing. You'll see my name is Test. You find it under My Certificates, which only appears if you're logged in. This is for handicappers only. The other searches and queries, the publics and certificate holders can look stuff up. But the only time My Certificate shows up is when you're logged in. You go to My Certificates and you'll see there is a drop down. You've got certificate transactions and certificate worksheets. This is the new certificate worksheet. This is going to replace the Handicappers worksheet. The Handicappers worksheet, which some of you are used to using, is now going to be an initial assignment form type. The district chiefs will take care of that, and that'll be submitted to us for creating new certificates. So this spot in particular is a little bit different than My Certificates. You're used to My Certificates where you can go and renew a certificate and you can change an existing certificate. Now, because of the way our system is designed internally, in order for you to add a new certificate or have a second certificate for an existing owner or to change a boat for a certificate, we needed a special way to handle that internally because of the way our database is set up. So we've set this up. It's basically, it's your little playground, your little sandbox for creating the basis for a certificate transaction, okay? When you're using My Certificates and you're renewing and changing, it creates a certificate transaction that's connected to our office. This is not connected to our office. This is yours. I can see it, but it's never going to be processed until you make a certificate transaction. But we'll go through that. Anyways, we're going to do this nice and quick.
Interject for a moment.
Yeah.
Diana. Hi. Just two quick questions. Rob Lenters, Niagara-on-the-Lake. There used to be a second version that we were using for experimentation that's now disappeared in the pull-down menu.
Yes.
Right. Okay. And sandbox means I could, for example, change some numbers from overlapping number 1 to an overlapping number 2 to see how it changes the owner's results and not necessarily send it in. So the word sandbox means I can play around with it, see what the numbers do. Unless I send it in, it's still just experimental.
Yeah. Okay. So Rob, what we're going to do, and you might have missed this, is I'm going to try to run through this, and then we're going to do the questions at the end.
Okay.
Okay. It's just going to, I think everything's going to come to light if I just run through it, and then I'll unmute everybody. Everybody's supposed to be muted except for me. And then I'll answer all the questions at the end. Okay. Okay. So back to the certificate worksheet. So we're just going to do, there are 3 options and it shows you on the top, you can do a new certificate, you can do an additional certificate for an existing owner, or you can do a new boat applied to an existing certificate. So what we're going to do is there is this create a new certificate, little plus sign. And what's going to happen is there's going to be a little pop-up. Everybody can see that, I hope. and it says certificate, and you're going to pick which one you're going to do. I'm creating a new certificate is option number 1. I'm creating an additional certificate for an owner. There's a reason we ask for that. And the reason this is like that, but we'll go through that. I'm just going to do a simple new certificate for right now. So I just checked out that toggle box and I create a worksheet. And it just says, yes, that's what you want to do. And I say, yes, that's what I want to do, is create a new worksheet. So it looks similar to the certificate transactions or my certificates, the things that you're using right now. So there's a place for a name. So I'm just going to put in Diana Riley, can't even spell my last name. There are fields that are mandatory. You'll see the little star beside the field names. Is everybody able to see this? Is there any problem seeing this? Okay. So one of the things that we like to have is a city at a minimum, but the more information you can put in here, the better. The reason is when this gets to Sheena, we have a database of a lot of old information. And we understand that people move from place to place, but they may actually have had a certificate previously. So if we can find that record, that's what we're going to do first. Okay, we did that with the Handicappers worksheet. We would always take the owner's information, go into our data, and see if that person was already in there. So at a minimum, we're going to put in the city, and your state or province, country. Okay. Phone numbers are not mandatory. Email is helpful because the email, if we need to contact an owner for some reason, then we'll be able to do that. This is again your little sandbox. So at this point, I just want to show you this. All of a sudden, there's a knock on the door and the FedEx guy has delivered something. So you've got to stop what you're doing. You can say, save this. So now you have this certificate item here, your worksheet item that you can complete later. So there's a drop down. You can edit the worksheet, view the worksheet, or if you wanted to, because oops, that was a complete mistake, you can delete it as well. Okay, so there's an edit worksheet. We'll continue on. So here's where we go. There's 3 tabs. There's the owner info, the boat and class info, and racing and sales info. So the boat and class, you can pick my boat. You can tell I've been testing this because a lot of these are popping up. If you know the previous name of the boat, that would be very helpful. Because like I said, we do look up boats in here, and sometimes there's an old boat name in there. We often use the sail number to try to match boats. Hull number if you have it. So the boat class is a drop down. That'll be an up-to-date listing of all classes. Unlike the worksheet, which had to be manually updated by me, this will be updated as soon as there's any changes or additions to a class. So even a new class will be in here. I'm going to, for this intent and purpose, going to make this a J24. Okay. It's going to show you that the keel type is what the default for that is. It's going to fill in all the class information. And then we're going to go over to the racing and sales information. So here you can decide, do you want it both flying sales and non-flying sales, NFS only, or one design? Now, in this case, the J24 has a one design rating that we have set up. So it will tell you here, is this a one design class? If that's no, then you can't pick one design. If it's yes, you can pick one design. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to get a J24 one design, and you get a little pop-up saying, do you realize that this is one design? You're not allowed to change the numbers once you do this. So you say, okay. And what it does is it will fill in all the values. Okay, right down to the prop. And also gives you what the default is. So here we can say, oh, I'm not, you know, the kids are coming home. I gotta go get the kids from school. So we can hit save on this. And now all that information is saved. Okay. So I'm going to go back in and I'm going to edit the worksheet and I'm going to show you what happens next. Now, This part of it is just to make sure that what you've entered is correct. And it's called validate. So we're going to validate this worksheet. And what it's going to do is it's going to do a pre-check that what you've entered is the minimum information you need to create a certificate transaction. So I'm going to click the button validate. You're going to get a little pop-up that says you need to, that validation only checks things and you need to do this before you can make a certificate transaction. I say, okay. And in this case, it tells me there are no warnings or error messages and that this item, this worksheet, can now be promoted to a certificate transaction. So I say, okay. And you'll note that now the validate button has been grayed out. Now I can save this, or I can create a certificate transaction. In this case, I can do it because I've set it up so that I can. Okay, but this is a demo because you won't be able to create certificate transactions until all the class rating changes have been updated following the Central Council meeting on March 24th. So that gives our office a chance to update all the ratings, reprint and upload all the new information for all the certificates, okay? You can play around in here all you want to, but as far as connecting to us so that we start entering stuff, that won't happen probably until the beginning of April or until your club pays the invoice, whichever is later, okay? So I'm going to create a certificate transaction and I can do this only because, like I said, I set it up so that I could. Nobody else will be able to do it at this point, but I just wanted to show you the transition. So it says creating certificate transaction. Our IT guy gets a little bit wordy with his little pop-ups there, but if you want to read it, at least you can read it. The information's there. I've already done this. I know what the wording is, and so I'm going to say okay. And what you're going to see is the same thing you see when you're editing a certificate. Okay, so the owner's information is all up here. My name, Diane Riley. The boat name is My Boat. Sale number 1234. It's a J24. It gives it this 99 number for a certificate number. That's an indication for our office what type of application this is for. And this is where you can see the calculations and see the revised handicap. This is the only spot. Okay, you can't see it in the certificate worksheets. So you have to be able to promote it to see the handicap. So at this point, I look at the revised handicap. I say everything looks fine on it. And this is where I save. Now, once you've hit saved, it becomes a certificate transaction. Okay, transactions pending. And there's my transaction. Okay, and you'll see the certificate number is 99.4. Anyways, so let's go back to certificate worksheets. We're going to create another one. This time we're going to create a different one. We're going to create an additional certificate for an owner that already has one. And what you'll notice is that I've clicked that toggled that button, and it's bringing up a list of certificate holders, their names, and their boat, so that I can pick one. And what it's going to do is it's going to use the information that's on file already. So in this case, I have some test things here. I have perf samples and tests. Okay. So what I'm going to use is my perf sample, and I'm going to say, okay, I want to create an additional certificate. This person races multiple boats. So we need another certificate, a second certificate for the same owner. So I say create a certificate. It says okay. And it will fill in all the basic information. Now, it happens that that person in my system doesn't have a city, so I'm going to have to fill that in. Actually, what I'll do is I'll leave that out to show you that when you validate, it's going to yell at me. But anyways, I'm going to say another boat. leave the previously known of, we'll give it a sale, 9999. And how about this time, we will make this a one design 35 spark boat. It will put the keel type in as bulb keel because that's standard. And again, at this point, if I wanted to, or I had to leave for some reason, I can hit save, or say I get over to the racing and sale information and I think, oh geez, I don't know, is this owner flying sales or non-flying sales? I'm not sure, but you can save it, go get the information, and then come back to it later. Again, this is all your stuff. This is your place, your place. And you'll notice it says one design class. This is not a Perf Lake Ontario recognized one design class. So we're just going to fill in some information. So we're going to enter some data in here. I'm using a cheat sheet if you're not noticing. Hang on a second. No, that's a 0. Okay, so we want the ASIN. Okay. Spinnaker tack point is center line 17.8. And my fingers aren't working. Then we go to the main. So just entering some information that I got off of another certificate. Okay. And the propulsion, you're gonna, it says the class default for this boat is sail drive. So you're gonna need to pick what propulsion is required. So it's sail drive. I'm gonna say this is folding feathering. And at this point, I've got my information filled out that I think at least that I've got everything filled out. So I'm going to use the validate button. So it says validate worksheet. Please note validating worksheet is not automatically to save. Say okay. Oh, and then I have an error. So you get field validations error, owner city is required. So anything that's required, you'll get pop up on here. So I'm going to go back over to the owner information. I'm going to put the city in. We're going to validate again. And there's no warnings this time. Say okay. And I'm going to save that so that I have it. So now I have 2 certificate worksheets in play. So what we're going to do is we're going to make this worksheet and we're going to create a certificate transaction. So this is going to take you over into the section that is actually connected to the office. So you'll see we've got certificate number 990006. It has taken any information that you've entered over there. So it's a perf sample. One design 35 is the boat class, sale number 9999. It's taken all the information from the certificate worksheet. It's entered it for you, including propulsion. It's done all the calculations on the sail sizes. So you've got the size of the head sail, the spinnaker, the sail area for the ASIM, and the percent, and the main area. And then the revised handicap is 43 and 80, which actually matches the sample one I have here. So we can say save. And you go over to transactions pending, and now you've got 2 of them in there. Okay, so we're going to go back to the certificate worksheet. And we're going to do one last one, and then we'll turn on and you guys can ask some questions. So I'm creating a transaction to change the owner's boat. So again, you'll see the pop-up come up because it's looking for people at your club only. Okay, so I'm going to go over here. I've got my test person. Let's make sure I'm using the right one. Okay, I'm going to create a worksheet for this test person because they bought a new boat. Okay, so it's it brings in any information we already have. If it's the address, the email, postal codes, whatever information we have on file for this owner is now in here. And here's where you go and you enter in any new boat information. Okay, so we're going to say the new boat. The sale number is number 19. And this one, we're going to make it Beneteau Oceana. So we're going to go down the list. Oceanas, and this one happens to be a 41. And I wasn't picking on anybody. I just picked something, and this happens to be the top of the list of the certificates. So there we go. Okay, so we've got basic information. And again, like I said, at this point, something happens or you don't have information, you can hit save. Just make sure you always hit save, because if not, you're going to lose the information. Okay. So this is the new boat here that we just did. You'll see it's worksheet ID is now 2792. That's the certificate number that you are editing. Okay. If it's a 99 number, it means it's a new certificate, or we're going to recognize it as being a new certificate. This is telling us that this is actually an existing certificate. So we're going to go back in and edit this. So we've got the boat and class information. Now we're just going to go in here and we are going to put this in as NFS. And when you do that, we have to put in the luff. And you'll notice that all the spinnaker is grayed out. You will not be able to enter anything in there, including anything to do with the pole. We'll go down. Of course, the main is required. And in this case, it's my example doesn't have the main girth top, but I'm just going to put in something because it will be required. Okay. So we've got class prop default is sail drive on this one as well. So we're going to have to go down and find the sail drive. And in this case, this is a folding and feathering prop again. So we want to validate this. You always want to validate it to make sure. Okay. So in this case, it's telling you there's a field validation error. The error is in the jib head sail half width because it's less than 115%. So basically it's doing its job by pointing it out. And in this case, it's 4.92, which is clearly wrong. But that number is in there and it's on this certificate. I'll be looking into that one because that's actually not correct. But okay, so we're going to validate this again. Now that I've entered it, and it says field validations return, no warnings or errors. I say thank you very much. Make sure I save that so that all the information that I've entered has been saved. Now we're going to promote it to a certificate transaction. You'll see that that's now lit up because it understands that it's been validated. If you change anything at this point, it will ask you to revalidate. So we're going to say, we're going to create a certificate transaction. And again, we're being popped over. And this is your certificate transaction, the same thing you use when you're changing a certificate and you're editing the information on a certificate. So this is very familiar to you. Most of you have been using this already. If you haven't, you'll get introduced to, there is a video on this as well. Up on the website if you need it or need a link to it, I can send that to you. All your calculations are in here. And the revised handicap tab, rating of 123, which is different than what I have. Oh, right, because the one I have in particular is missing the main girth top. So it was getting a 3-second penalty. So this is good. So once I'm sure that I want the perf office to process this, that's when you say save. and that becomes a certificate transaction. Anything in this list is now visible by the Perf Lake Ontario office. We can see this and we can process it. So if you do not want it there, if you've made a mistake, you have the option to edit or delete or just even view the transaction. But if you think you made a big boo-boo, then you really should hit the delete, because as soon as we see that, as soon as Sheena's on and she's working on it, she's going to be processing that. Okay? So I think that's it. I am going to let you ask some questions now. I will unmute everybody. Okay, you can actually, you're gonna have to unmute. Oh yeah, there we go. All right, everybody's unmuting. All right. So do you want me to leave the screen sharing up there? So if you have a question, we can walk through them.
So Diana,
Yes.
so once everything's been done, and then the transaction is like, it will take you to the payment page for, to renew your certificate?
Yeah, it's not a payment page.
No?
It's certificate transactions. Okay, so transactions pending. These transactions here,
Okay.
they are connected to our office. Like, we actually have a direct link so that in our office, when we fire up what we call our DMS system, which is basically the overall database handling for Perf Lake, Ontario, we have a connection where we can see every transaction in here. Okay, which means we're going to process it, and then that's going to be charged to your club as a certificate for that season. So that, like, soon you guys are going to be getting your invoices. The clubs will be getting their invoice with a list of certificates that were issued last year. This will become a 2024 certificate, and that'll appear, and you guys will be paying for it next year.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Diana, it's
Yeah.
Trevor Whitehouse.
Yeah.
Yeah, the question on the certificate numbers. So the new system, anything that we create that's new now is going to have what is that, a 6 or 7 digit number instead of the
Okay, so
old
all
4
that,
digit numbers?
yeah, all that 99 number, it's a 99 and followed by a bunch of zeros, etc. All that is a reference in OLC. When it comes down the pipe, when we actually process it, we will assign a true certificate number.
Okay, so
Okay.
the boat owner going in looking for his certificate or her certificate won't see that 999 number. They're not going to see anything until you process it and assign a
Right.
4-digit number. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
Then it's going to get issued a regular perf certificate number, the same as the 2792. Yes.
Okay.
Diana, it's Wayne Parker here.
Yep.
Just one question here. One of the things we used to do in preparation for district meetings, and that, of course, was initial assignments. Have we got that ability to do so still or not?
Well, you'll be doing that with your district chief. You won't have access to the Handicappers worksheet. That's being removed completely. New classes will need to go through your district chief. They will have what was called the Handicappers worksheet will now be called the initial assignment form, and they will have access to it, but it's not going to be generally distributed. This certificate worksheet in what I call OLC online certificates is the tool you're going to use for making new certificates. If it's a new class of boat, then that goes to the district, and then once that's settled through a district meeting, that will be sent off to myself or Sheena, and we will process that as a new class and issue a certificate at that time. Yeah, Rob?
Hi, by the way, thanks. That made everything crystal clear. Not surprisingly, you did your preparation as a former teacher. I appreciate that.
Oh, okay.
We used to have the provision, if it's a boat that's new to Lake Ontario, we would get 3 handicappers in our district to say, yep, we agree, and then it would go to Central Council. Is that changed now?
No, that's the same. Like
Okay.
if it's a new class, okay? You have to remember that we're talking about 2 different things. So if the class doesn't exist, if you go into searches and queries, and I'll just go over here, and you're looking for a new Beneteau, you can see all the classes that are issued. So you'll know what you can and can't use. Even if you go in and try to create a certificate worksheet, you're going to know, because if you create a new certificate worksheet, sorry, I'm just going to flip through here. You're going to know because every class will be in this list, up to date to the most recent new class entered by the Perth Lake Ontario office. If it's not in that list, if you don't see, or you see, oh, I have a Bavaria 31 cruiser, I don't have the shoal draft version, that's when you have to go to your district chief and say, I need the office to rate the Bavaria 31 cruiser. Most cases, if it's a small change, if it's a related class, then usually the chief handicappers can set the rating. So they could say, you know, the Bavaria 31 cruiser should be, you know, 6 seconds faster than the shoal draft version. And we can do that just based on them telling us. But if it's not in this list at all, it's some new fancy Beneteau that they come out with, then that has to go back to the district. The districts will hold a meeting and set the rating for the class. Then that comes to us and we enter the information based on what the district decided.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, if you sent it off to you and you made a mistake and you hit delete, does that just delete it from your office, or does it eliminate all the information that we've put in?
Okay, so if it's listed, okay, hang on a second. We're gonna hit save here. I'll show you, because there's 2 different areas, okay? The certificate worksheets. This
No,
area.
this is if we've set it into you and then made a mistake. Yeah, okay.
Okay, so in here, this is your area. You hit delete, that's gone forever. Transactions pending. If you go in here, you can hit delete. Like I can sit here and I can take this one and go, oh no, I didn't, that's not a Beneteau Giannis 41. I picked the wrong class. Or, oh no, the owner changed their minds and they're not going to be racing. I can hit delete as long as we haven't processed it yet. It will disappear from the list. Okay,
And
then
you'll
it's no
still-
longer connected to our office. We are
Gotcha.
connected to that exact list. So what you see there, we can see. Now, as we process them, these will disappear.
Thank you.
Okay,
Diana, Paul Hayes in Youngstown.
yep.
Thanks for doing this. What about multiple certificates? Say a boat wants to do a code 0 certificate and still have a regular line
Yeah,
sail.
okay, for one thing, code 0s are illegal right now. But yes, you can have multiple certificates. I went through that earlier. When we create a new worksheet, there are 3 options. I'm creating a new certificate for an owner that does not appear in my certificates list. Or number 2, I'm creating an additional certificate for an owner that already has a certificate, but it has to be for 2 different boats. One certificate per boat.
Yeah, that one, Paul's question was a boat having two certificates. A single boat having two certificates.
Not allowed.
A boat can only have one certificate. So if they want a distance racing certificate or something that they're going to use from a point to point, that's a whole different conversation.
Okay,
I mean, to open that can
Okay,
of worms.
well, okay, so the deal with the point-to-point stuff right now is that we are actually just currently I'm working with my IT guy, Ian, and we're in the works of putting the point-to-point number on every certificate. So you're going to have a point-to-point time correction factor for both flying sales and non-flying sales on your certificates. But we are not at this point anywhere close to creating a second certificate for point-to-point. They are talking about it, but there's a lot more to discuss before we're there. And at that point, I'm anticipating that, yes, you'll be able to have two certificates for one boat, one for point-to-point and one for windward-leeward. Now, don't quote me on that, but that's my understanding is the way they're headed with this.
Yeah, so this is Larry Hybers, and I happen to be the president. So I'm not trying to discourage anybody from participating in sailing, but the amount of back end work that has to happen for there to be an effective way to manage the multiple certificates on a boat, we just haven't come to that realization or that ability yet, and the costs associated with it are just a little beyond what we have in a budget to do those things at this point. We've been working on it for some time, and it's the intention that we will get there. But for Paul's purpose, if Larry Hybers has a boat that wants to have different configurations, I have to choose the configuration in which I will use, and that will be my number, regardless of whether I ever pull out that sale or don't pull out that sale, save and except if I register for no flying sales or flying sales. That would be everybody has that variability when they register for an event, if they have those different classes available to them.
yeah, thank you.
Hey, does anyone have any more questions specific to the certificate worksheet? If you do, unmute yourself and so
Yes,
I think
Dan Macwold, Crescent Yacht Club. In side discussions, it has been suggested that the removal of the Handicappers worksheet from the Handicappers was due to, I'll use a softer word, maybe misuse of it
yes,
in
that
certain
is correct.
circumstances.
That is correct.
So without getting too deep into it, is there something that we as handicappers or also competitors should be on the lookout for to, just make sure that everybody's, playing on a level playing field?
With regards to,
Well, how it was misused in the past.
okay, so the problem was that there were clubs out there using the Handicappers worksheet to give ratings to boats without applying for a certificate. The amount of time and money spent to do this, the only income we have is certificates. So one of the ways to curb that was to make it so that it wasn't distributable. The problem with the Handicappers worksheet is it was distributable. I had people sending it, like owners sending it to me, and it's not even supposed to be in an owner's hands. I had clubs from far away going, well, wait a minute, my rating is like this. Why is it? And I'm like, wait, you're not even a member. Like, it's a club down in the US. So we needed a way to kind of rein that in.
Okay, thanks.
Any more questions about the worksheet, the certificate worksheet?
Diana, it's Allison Jones, and I have a question with respect to when you're getting an additional certificate for an existing owner.
Mhm.
And I tried to toggle that list that you showed, which was showing the other certificates. And I'm not sure if that was just, you did it by default, because it doesn't come up with a list on when I go in. And my question is that going to be just a list of certificate holders in my club, or is that going to be a list of every certificate
That's
holder?
going to be a list of certificate holders in your club.
Okay,
That's where it is right there.
okay,
Okay, so
Yep.
additional certificate. And you'll see down here on the bottom, it says select certificate
Yeah,
owner.
I
Now,
saw that, but it's not
okay,
showing up.
hang on. If you're not seeing something right,
Yeah,
what happens with your registration is in the back end here. I tell it what clubs you're part of. Okay,
Okay.
so right now, these are actually non-member certificate holders, because that's what I've toggled for this login, is to bring up non-members. If you're not seeing your certificate holders, and especially you, Allison, because I think you have multiple logins on there.
Okay.
We have to make sure you're logging in under the right one, so that you'll see port credits stuff. Okay.
okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anybody else?
Yeah, Diana Martin Osborne.
Okay.
So you helped me in the fall when we were doing the transfer. So when I want to, if I'm transferring one, I'm essentially creating a new certificate, right? It's not, I'll just have to roll the information over. It's a boat that's changed ownership.
The boat's changed ownership?
Correct.
Right. So that's what you're going to do, is you're going to create a new worksheet. And I'm creating a transaction to change the owner's boat. Because remember that the certificate belongs to the owner, not the boat.
Right.
Okay. So this is going to toggle us that you're picking, a certificate from Bruce Draper or whoever the list is, and you're going to give him a new boat. And what happens is then when it goes to a certificate transaction, we can see that, oh, we're making an update to certificate number 6716. And then we go through the process, and it has to do with our internal workings, because our databases are connected, but they're individual. So, we have over 7,000 boat records.
Yeah. So in this case, I'm transferring the boat to somebody else. So I'm creating a new certificate.
Okay, so if it's a new, if they never had a
doesn't-
certificate before, then it's a new certificate. Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Exactly.
Thank you. And thank you for sending those to me before we deleted them.
No problem. Okay, anybody else?
Diana, can I jump in just for a second?
Sure.
On the question from the fellow from Crescent Yacht Club, and I know that the cure may be worse than the disease on access to the Handicappers worksheet, and that becomes a district one. I know as a local handicapper, I get asked on the dock, hey, what if I change from this to that? What does it look like? The ability to be able to provide current information to current certificate holders on variations, if they're looking at new sales, or what if I change from this prop to that prop, but some of that data was readily available. That being more difficult to obtain, hopefully it doesn't create a bigger burden for the local handicappers. Your relationship with your district handicapper should be strong and accessible, but we're not trying to jam up the system, but we do need to recognize that it's essentially theft of services if people are using it without paying for it, and we need to come up with a way to recover that. So this isn't meant to be punitive to all the handicappers who use it as a tool to be helpful at their club. And I hope we haven't created a barrier to your ability to be supportive to your racers, but it needed to be addressed.
And it's a long time coming. This has been 5 years in the works.
Thanks for that, Larry. I was really just trying to get my head wrapped around what the motivation was. And I now that I understand it, I certainly understand where the organization is coming from. I sort of look at it a different way, with, people using the tool, and apparently it's still going to be available to you know, buy a sale that's 1/10 underneath the whatever size they're looking for to get the rating that they're looking for. I mean, our sport used to be, you know, plagued with sea lawyers, and now they're like, it seems like we're measurement geniuses. That's kind of where my mindset is.
Yeah, the value of the pickle dishes keep going up, doesn't it?
Don't forget those little 8x12 squares of nylon.
Yeah.
Any other questions about the certificate worksheets? Do I hear a yes? I hear, okay, I'm gonna,
Diana?
Yep.
I think I speak for myself, but I think I need to play around with this a bit more to get a better understanding of it. And
Yep.
I'm hoping that there'll be a section in the spring training that we'll be able to address some questions that people might have then. And that'll give everybody kind of a couple months to kind of, or 6 weeks or whatever, to really explore it and put in the things that in preparation for the new season.
okay, so I've actually talked to Ian about this, and we're fully aware that for the first few months that this is open and operating, that we will be putting out fires, not only for handicappers, but as well as the admin office. I mean, we do lots of testing, but there's always stuff that comes up. So if anybody has a question, it's not a problem to send me an email. I have the ability to see every worksheet in here. So if you're having a specific problem with a specific worksheet, I can actually go and see everybody's. Okay, I can also see everybody's certificate. I could edit everybody's certificate. I just have that capability based into the website. So if you have questions, it's probably better to do it that way. I can see about doing something in the spring training, but I know that that's a real tight time thing there. But we'll see. I mean, it's up to the executive, right, Allison?
And Rob.
And Rob, yes, Rob, yes, he's the chief for the spring training, so
Yep.
yeah. Yeah, I
Okay.
don't know how much into this I get, because I usually try to cover everything, including renewals and editing certificates, etc. So this is like a new layer of that.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else?
Yeah, Diana, Trevor, again, just one before you go.
Mhm.
I've been playing around on the other computer with the system while you've been talking. All
Okay.
looks good, works very well. And all my boats are there, and I can see them in my club.
Okay.
But if I understand correctly, and yes, the Central Council review, which is February 24th, right? That's
Right.
got to take place.
Yeah.
So we really shouldn't start entering any data in this system until you give us the go-ahead. Is that the word? Because if we put in information now, and then Central Council comes up, changes the SPs, it's going to, I don't know what the.
Well, no, because in this section, you don't see SPs. Hang on a second, let's cancel that. So this is just a worksheet. This is just to enter data. You're not seeing ratings or anything on here.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not until you validate and create a certificate transaction. That's the certificate transactions is where you're going to see the ratings. Okay, and that's the part you can't do until after we've done a full update of the website. So we have to update all the clubs, we have to update all the certificates, we have to update all the class information. Once that's done, then if your club is paid, you'll be able to go through and create certificate transactions for anything that's sitting here in your certificate worksheets. Okay, as long as it's been validated. So you could get everything prepped now. You could have a list of 10 of them if you want. And then when the bell goes off and it's open, you can start creating certificate transactions, and then Sheena will be pulling her hair out.
Okay, because, you know, the bills are out to our club members now, and the race registrations will start coming in within the next week.
Yep.
And, you know, then I've got to turn over to the scorers. I've got to start turning over information for the sail wave files.
Yep.
So all I'm trying to do is make sure I've got some kind of ideas on dates here. So I don't tell people to expect things before they should be coming due.
Yeah, our aim is April 1st, but it's usually lags a couple days behind that because there's a lot to getting, you know, 1,600 certificates reprinted. And you know, the Central Council has their meeting that gives us just about a week to finalize everything. The minutes have to be approved. We make all the final changes. Most of the changes come from this February meeting, so that's the good thing. Usually there's just some stragglers or some updates, some last minute changes that they've done that we've got to get into the system so that everything gets updated. And then it's we just basically spend the next day just updating all the data, and that's when you'll be able to make a certificate transaction.
Okay.
But you can certainly enter everything in here, because if you've got a new owner, an owner who wants to race, and you know all the information about the boat, you can certainly have it sitting there ready to go. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's great. No, that gives me something to work from.
Yeah. Now remember, you can't renew a certificate, you can't change a certificate, and you can't create a certificate transaction until the club invoice has been paid. Okay.
When are the bills going out?
They are in Sheena's hands as we speak. I just got them up. She's mailing them out this year. We've made a change to our PO box. She's going to be handling all the handicapper stuff and the club stuff. We're doing a little bit of a shift in responsibilities. So she's going to be taking care of that, and they should be going out probably over the next week.
But they're also going to be available online, will they not, Diana?
Yes. Yeah, they're always, yeah, she'll notify once everything's been mailed out, and once they're uploaded to the website, she'll send out a blanket email to all the handicappers so that they know to look for it. Anything else with the certificate worksheet? Okay. I'm stopping my sharing.
Great job, Diana. Thank you very much.
Any other questions while I'm here? It looks like we're going to cut this into 1 hour, which works for me.
Thank you, everybody, for your participation and for taking care of all this. I know it's a lot of work for all of you, but if you need any help, your district chief is there to assist, and Diana and Sheena are always available as well. So thank you very much for your support to Per Fellow, and have a great race season, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Diana.
Okay, everyone have a good day.
Bye.
Have a nice weekend. Bye now.
You too. Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye-bye.